And this Hangout on Air is live. Hey guys, good evening, Sassenachs. I'm Frumbie from We So Nerdy. Wow, it's been a while since I've done this. And this Hangout on Air is live. Hey guys, good evening. And we are still Katie. Hi. That's Katie there for you. I'm Frumbie from We So Nerdy here with Katie, and we are thrilled to be back doing our video reviews for Outlander. Droughtlander was long. Droughtlander was really, really long, but it is over, and we are here to talk about season 4. We missed you guys. We missed you a whole lot.
Yeah.
How's it going, Katie? How is everything?
It's going. I mean, it's been a good day so far. I mean, we had Outlander premiere, The Walking Dead episode 5. We had. I mean, it's been a good night for TV, I think, and a strong premiere for Outlander. So I'm excited.
Agreed. If there's anyone out there who's watching who are fans of The Walking Dead, Katie is also our lead person on TWD, and we were actually expecting that she would be kind of devastated while filming this review, but we were just talking, and there is a devastation, right? Katie, what do you feel?
I'm not necessarily devastated. I'm processing. I'm processing my feelings, and I guess I'm in the anger stage of things, and we'll see how I move on from there. But yeah, there's a lot of feelings for The Walking Dead right now, but we'll get to those.
We'll get to that. We will get there. That's not what we're here to talk about right now. Right now, what we're here to talk about is Outlander season 4 premiere episode. So before we get started, as usual, our full recap of America the Beautiful. The link is below, right below. So make sure you go ahead and take a look. It was prepared lovingly by Katie. So there are several clips there, 3 new clips, including a series, sort of a series preview, about a minute, giving us a heads up into what we can expect in the upcoming season. So please make sure to take a look at that. Okay, so let us dive in.
Let's go.
Let's go. So we know that season 4 is based on Diana Gabaldon's 4th book, Drums of Autumn. And in this series, overall, right, so far, we've taken several journeys with Jamie and Claire across time and space, certainly in terms of emotional journeys as well, really intense. However, tonight we see Jamie and Claire really embark on a new adventure and also try to settle down some new roots in a new land. But we know things are never ever smooth sailing for these two. And while tonight's episode had some really, really high highs, there were also some terrible lows, culminating in the final moments of the episode, which we will talk about. But we got to start from the beginning. So, Katie, what were some of the highlights for you in America the Beautiful?
Well, I think one of my favorite things so far is just seeing Jamie and Claire together again and being so oh gosh, just they're so solid, and they really work together in this episode in such a partnership. And we saw that just in Claire's support of Jamie when he is there at Hayes's hanging. And then again, like when they prepare for the dinner party, it's not so much I'm following your lead, it's how do we work this together? And I really loved that it was such a partnership between them, because I think we spent a couple of seasons and a whole lot of emotional angst between them. And so to see them so solid and just working together, and I loved that. I thought that was so nice, and it was wonderful to have a familiarity there.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't say it any better, actually. Those two are solid. Those two, their relationship is like, I mean, the phrase "old married couple" comes to mind, which I don't know if we could actually, if that's applicable, since they spent like 20 years apart, but they just settled into their lives together so beautifully. And it's really, really satisfying to watch. Like just as you said, Katie, like I was watching Jamie and Claire tonight, and I was so pleased and I was so happy that, after all they've been through, after that massive separation, after all the pain they've endured, now they are together and they can actually build a life together, this thing that has been denied them for so long. And it's really hopeful, it's really optimistic, which isn't necessarily a tone that I expect from Outlander. But I definitely it was great to see Jamie and Claire. It was great to see them back together again tonight.
It was, and I really like the word you use, settled. They're settled, and they're trying to settle, and find that home, or that place that they can call home, that's their together home. And I'm happy for them. I'm so happy for them. They need happiness.
They do. Okay. So I actually, thinking about one of my favorite parts or the highlights for me in tonight's episode was actually the very, very beginning of the episode, when we began with the flashback to the indigenous Americans in 2000 BC, and they were constructing their own stones. I mean, presumably in North America, somewhere near North Carolina, maybe, I assume. But I loved it because, of course, it's a callback to season 1, the Dance of the Druids, as well as the ritual that we saw the Jamaican Maroons do last season. And it just, I don't know if you remember this, Katie, but you asked at last season, at the end of last season, you asked me if there were like stones in different parts of the world, and I don't quite remember what I said. It might have been spoilery. I apologize if ultimately, I think tonight we get the answer, which is the definitive answer, which is yes, right? And I just thought it spoke so nicely and so beautifully to sort of the universality of the human experience and condition. And even Claire's like what Claire is talking about, like the importance of circles and things like that. I just thought that it was a really, really beautiful scene, and it just made me feel, sort of as a human being, really, really happy that, like, from the beginning of time, all over the world, different kinds of people have sort of been fascinated with the occult. They've been fascinated with spirituality and have actually come to similar conclusions, as well as similar methods, in sort of coming to terms with these things, with the supernatural. So I really, really, really enjoyed that.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Like, I love how this season kind of kicks off with it, because it lets you know that this was not something that was just isolated in this one area or these two areas. And it's something that's been there for a long time, because it's not, 200 years, it's not in the 1400s, it's 2000 BC. These things have been here before America was America, before America was anything anyone thought of. And to have these connections all over the world, and this spirituality, and this sort of connecting energy amongst all these points, and all these points line up in Jamie and Claire's life, and it does sort of make a circle. It's almost like there's something in them that's drawn to these areas.
That's a great point. Because you have to think about it, right? Like when Claire needed it, she was able to get to stones, right? Be it in Scotland, be it in the Caribbean, and now presumably in this new place in North America where Claire and Jamie are about to make their home, right? So it makes you wonder what are the circumstances that will bring Claire to this new place, Craig Nadun, Abandoe, whatever we might call it in the context of the Americas, or of America.
Oh yeah.
I know.
I'm very interested in figuring that out. And Abondoy, I forgot that's what it was called. And when you said,
The way.
I love that.
I
Yes.
know. I know. Exciting. So after that, so Claire, we see that scene of the Indigenous Americans sort of dancing around their stones. And Claire tells us about the importance of circles. So we think of like a happy circle, and then we get taken immediately to a not very happy circle. That is the noose and the death of Gavin Hayes. So we just need to take just a couple seconds to pour one out for Gavin Hayes. Rest in peace, rest in peace, rest in peace.
And whiskey for him, even though there's only rum.
Yeah. And I only have water. Actually.
I have coffee.
At least they had that. But I just thought that scene was like, I was live tweeting tonight, and one of the things I tweeted out was that, you know, this connection between Jamie and his Ardsmuir men is, you know, and you know, it just, it's a really deep connection, right? That Jamie's instinct, like when he comes to see Hayes, he's like, Hayes, this is how we're about to break you out. We're not, life isn't about to go down like this for you. This is how you're going to break you out. Fergus is going to create a scene. And then when everyone's looking this way, you're going to go that way. Leslie and I are going to be there. We're going to take care of you. But Hayes is just like, not today, not today, not today.
And that's one of the things that I really love. And I love it, but I also recognize that in some ways it can be a fault, is how they're so unfailingly this is right and this is wrong, and I did something wrong and I should have the punishment for it.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but at the same time, not everyone ascribes to the definitive right and wrong. And so when you have this
No, they don't. No.
This, code for yourself, and you're like, well, I'm a man of my word. Not everyone is a man of their word. And we need to be better judges of character, I feel.
I just like, and I think it's so interesting, right? That Jamie and Hayes are having this really, I would call it an intimate moment.
Yes.
This is their final moment together in this life. Hayes has decided, this is it for me. And these are the two things. These are my two final wishes, is some whiskey, and the last face I want to see in this life is the face of a friend. So they're having a really intimate moment. And then this fool, Stephen Bonnet, feels like he's going to insert himself into this moment. No one asked you. No, you can't have any rum. No, you can't take part in this really intimate moment, right? So I think that is such a small moment, I guess comparatively, it's such a small moment, but I think it speaks really well to what you were saying, Katie, that these two men live by a code, and their experience has just been intruded upon by an individual who has no moral code whatsoever.
None. And I remember watching that the first time, and like this rando dude who's like in chains is like, can I get some? No, like, no, we don't know you. No, you can't have any rum. And of course, Jamie's like, Jamie, so he gives him some. But all those little things, oh my gosh, like from the very beginning when I met him, I was like, that guy right there, like, I'm not going to like him. And I know that he's made to where you don't like him, and he is his own trope in a way. He is that villain guy.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like, there's part of me that goes, surely Jamie can see that.
Like, you just think about it, right? Again, like, that's such a small moment.
Yeah.
But systematically, Stephen Bonnet does shady stuff that should alert them that this guy isn't normal.
Yeah.
This guy isn't our friend, right? So first, he intrudes on this moment and takes the whiskey. Second, after Hayes has been hung and Leslie in his grief, calls out for his friend, Bonnet uses that moment, he uses that distraction to make his own escape. No shame whatsoever.
Fun.
And then the man, Bonnet, has no problem slipping out of town with the dead body of Hayes. Like, like these things, again, sort of separately, they seem so small, but together, you just put it together and you're like, this guy is not our friend. Like, this guy is not one of us, right? He's not. If we're like these people who have this particular set of beliefs and right and wrong, this code of honor, this man is not a man of honor.
No, he's not. And I mean, this is a man. Okay, Hayes admits that what he did was wrong. He murdered a guy who found him sleeping with this man's wife, and he admits that was a wrong thing to do, which is great. But I don't think that you could find Stephen Bonnet on his best day and have that man admit to anything that he did was wrong.
Nope.
Like, he would just like come up with some excuse. Oh, well, we're not exactly pirates, but I find it so hard to believe that, given all the people that we've run into over the years, that this is the dude that slips through the cracks.
I know, right?
Is the one who slips through the cracks.
It's kind of bonkers. It's true. Like, of all the people, all the shady characters that Jamie and Claire have come across, Stephen Bonnet is the one who's like the unexpected. I don't know. I can't explain it. But I know we're sort of jumping ahead.
Yeah, I know.
And I think that's fine. But I just need to say one more thing about Stephen Bonnet, because I know we're going to come back around to this guy. But you need to know that I have hated Stephen Bonnet for years. For years, I have hated Stephen Bonnet. So now to see him on my TV screen, this is I don't quite know how I feel. I'm still sort of searching for the words. Maybe they'll come to me by the time, we come back around to talking about it. But I just need to say that I've hated Stephen Bonnet for years. And yet here we are.
I say, you've got to jump on me. I've hated Stephen Bonnet since like 10 a.m. yesterday morning. When I sent you a series of text messages that were in all caps.
Pretty much.
Screaming.
Pretty much. But I loved it. I love getting those texts. So they are able to get Hayes' body, and there's the problem of where they can bury Hayes. And they eventually decide that they can go to a location, I assume outside of town. They're able to find a place where they can bury Hayes.
Yeah, a cemetery. They like do it all like low key because they don't want to. They're like, we're not going to bribe this pastor. Like, if he's a guy who wants to bribe, he's not a man of God.
Exactly. Yes. And he must be buried on consecrated land. Yep. And that actually triggers a really, really interesting moment that I know, Katie, that you had several thoughts about. A really, really interesting moment between Jamie and Ian as they both come to terms with their assault.
Yeah. When I first watched it the first time, I really enjoy what they've done. Because we knew that Ian was very traumatized by what had happened with Galus, and he hadn't had a chance to talk about it. He hadn't had an opportunity to work through those feelings and to kind of process the assault that happened to him. And to have Jamie, tell him that sometimes you need to give a name to the person who kind of committed these deeds to you to come through them. It opens a gate for Ian to be able to kind of work through this stuff with someone he trusts and someone that he loves. And in a way, you have Jamie and Ian bonding over this assault that they've both faced at different times in their life. Ian with Gayless, and then Jamie, of course, with Black Jack Randall, and then again, whenever he oh gosh, what was her name, Fumbi? The English girl.
English girl?
The one that he has Willie with.
Oh, it was in my mind and now I've forgotten. It starts with a G.
Oh my gosh.
Geneva.
Yeah. Because, I know, I completely forgot her name. I blanked on it.
Sorry.
Because we talked about it last year. Like, no matter how you cut it, there was an imbalance of power. And Jamie did do things that he necessarily would not have wanted to do otherwise. But Ian asks him, have you ever lain with someone when you didn't want to? And Jamie says, I have. And he says, when you understand, then you understand how it can be when you do it without wishing to, detesting it all the while it feels pleasing. And Jamie tells him, you did what you must to survive. That's all that matters. Mm-hmm. And so, Jamie tells Ian, you did what you had to do. You survived. And I love that they could talk about their assault and they could, put it out in the open. And, they could have that quiet moment of understanding and Ian could unburden himself. I would like to see that more with Claire and the women in the series, to be able to talk about their assaults and unburden themselves in that way. Because one of the things I do really worry about is that we view Claire so often as this strong woman and that nothing phases her and that she just does what she has to do. And, that is that, and she'll tough it out, that we that we say, well, that just happened to women in this time period, that we normalize the sexual assault of women to the point that we can brush off this trauma and the side effects that happen to them. So I would really love to see Claire and Jamie kind of have a similar discussion about, what Claire has gone through.
Yeah.
Because she was there for Jamie to talk and work him through his Black Jack Randall trauma. And so.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, Katie and I had this conversation yesterday, maybe, or a couple of days ago. And one thing, and, our friends that are watching who are also book readers, I'd really like to hear your thoughts about this. It seemed to me that when Claire is essentially raped by Louis in order to get Jamie's freedom, it seemed to me in the book there was much more in sort of the conversation that happens afterward when Jamie is released, that initial conversation between Jamie and Claire. In the book, it seemed to me that there was much more of what Katie is talking about. That is, I mean, there was certainly a conversation about Claire's feeling of betrayal, that Jamie would kill Black Jack Randall or try to kill Black Jack Randall after making this promise to her. So I mean, there's certainly tension from that, as well as the miscarriage, which they're dealing with. But also in the book, there was much more of a recognition or an admission from Claire that, this is what I had to do with Louis in order to secure your freedom, and an acknowledgement from Jamie that, this is a sacrifice, and this is a trauma that Claire has had to endure. I perceived that in the book. I did not perceive that in the television series. In the TV series, the focus was much more on Claire, apologizing to Jamie, saying that, I shouldn't have asked you to, I should never have asked not to seek vengeance against Blackjack Randall. That was unfair of me, as well as the miscarriage. And I mean, not even a mention, not that I can recall, not even a mention of Claire's sexual assault. So that is definitely, I would agree, definitely a gap in the television show.
And that's and that's one thing, and we've talked about it before. And I'm not trying, and I don't want it to come across as discounting anything that happened to Jamie or Ian, because their sexual assaults are still, you know, traumatic, horrible, horrific events that happen to them, and they definitely need to talk those out and be able to share those and work through them. I find that we tend to use rape as this plot device when it comes to females, as a way to show character growth, as a way to show perseverance, as a way to show that they are tougher or can handle all these things. And then on the same side of that coin, depending on the character, we say sexual assault is a threat. It is something to be afraid of. It is something to be threatened with. It is something to hold over your head in order to get you to do the certain things that you want someone to do. And I would just, I wish that we didn't depend upon that so much as a way to motivate and move characters forward. And if we do, we need to be able to talk about that trauma no matter who is assaulted. And women should be able to talk about that as well and delve into their feelings. Did it freeze?
I'm here. Are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, I think it froze for a little while. Sorry.
Yeah, it froze. Like we were like both frozen pictures. I was like, hey.
I have no idea what's happening. Sorry, guys. We're still getting back into the group. Hopefully that wasn't that long of a pause for you. But I mean, rape is a plot. Again, I think it's difficult because you have to sort of, again, think of the source material. And I mean, for better or for worse, rape is something that happens in the world of Outlander pretty repeatedly. And many times without sort of that deep reflection. So you have to think about, like, the series right now as they're trying to adapt it. How do they confront that? And the truth is, I don't know. I don't know. I wish we wouldn't keep using rape as a plot device, but here we are. But what I can say is I thought this moment between Jamie and Ian was really well done. It was really well done. And I honor them for that.
Yeah, I agree. It was such a beautiful scene to have Jamie be able to comfort Ian and to allow him to open up and to talk. And you know, I think that in some ways, Jamie, he knew that whenever that happened to him, that's what he needed. And instead of letting it grow and fester, he helps Ian work through that. And that's it's so beautiful for them to be able to help each other in that sense, even through something as horrific as, Ian's assault, which is, I mean, he's so torn up about that. I mean, it was a great scene. They did very well, both of them.
I agree. And one thing that I just want to say before we move on is that there has been some argument, or some have said that because when Claire was with Louis, it was seemingly by choice. This is what she was doing in exchange for Jamie's freedom, that it wasn't assault. I would just like to say that I completely disagree with that characterization because what seemed like Claire's choice was in fact not a choice. It was done under duress and without her full consent. Claire did not want to engage in sex with Louis, but was doing so out of duress, right? Quid pro quo, which is still considered to be assault. I would go as far as to say rape. But I just wanted to make my perspective on that very clear.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. You can't, because I mean, if you turn down the King of France, what will he do with your husband who is now like that? There in the imbalance of power, is unreal like that. Yeah, I agree with you. What you said.
So transitioning a little bit, they're able to, we've already talked about this a little bit, like they're able to bury Hayes after finding shifty Stephen Bonnet there. And with Claire and Jamie's help, and again, the fact that Stephen Bonnet calls upon Hayes, claims Hayes to be a friend in order to persuade Jamie and Claire to help him get past the checkpoints with the British soldiers. Again, this guy, he isn't like he's not normal. That just keeps coming back to me. But anyway, that happens, and then again, Stephen Bonnet warns them: "Be careful. There are people out here, not good people, who might take advantage and harm you. So be careful." Gosh. Anyway, so moving beyond that,
yeah, you have my word.
Oh gosh. So moving beyond that, we get a really, really lovely sexy times moment between Jamie and Claire, and it's wonderful. This is the quality content we deserve.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It was fantastic. Like if camping, I didn't realize camping was that great. Good for them. Like the best use of quality time, that they have alone.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, I guess I can imagine after a really difficult day, after Jamie saying goodbye to a friend in a really horrible way, and then burying that friend, Jamie and Claire would want a chance to reconnect and have sort of a reaffirmation of their lives together, their love. And it's really beautiful to see, and it's so sexy.
It is. That was great. That was a good scene. I love. Oh gosh, that was the scene that he says. What even if I die, my soul is still here. We're only changed. And she's like, that's thermodynamics. And he's like, no, that's faith. And I'm like, I don't care what it is. I'm just really happy that this is happening right now.
And that's exactly what Claire says.
Claire and I are both like, it doesn't really matter, does it?
It doesn't matter because we are both here and this is wonderful. No, that was a really lovely scene. Sam and Kate, keep doing the good work. Keep doing the good work for the people. And that actually sort of lays, so they have a really good night together. And then in the morning, before they pack up and leave, they're reflecting on America, right? And sort of Claire lays out the American dream and what America will be and what America will become from sea to shining sea. And it's really, it's another really sweet moment between them. It's really sweet, it's really hopeful, and it's really optimistic, which again, we don't always get from Jamie and Claire. So to have that moment between them, I thought was really nice.
Oh, I loved it. They were all cuddled up, looking over this beautiful, just landscape. And it does. I mean, even for, us who live in modern the United States, to kind of think about what could be, or what the people who came over here at the very beginning, their dreams, their aspirations, this country that didn't seem to have an end, this wilderness, and that Claire knows what it becomes. It's sort of unfathomable,
Yeah.
because how can you look out at this wilderness and go, eventually this will all be tamed. This will all be, separate states. This will all be cities. This will all be different people, and it'll just be different. And South Carolina or North Carolina is one of 50 states. That's an incredible thing. And, Jamie goes with it because he knows Claire.
Yeah.
Um,
But Jamie sees trees, which I mean is lovely. I think it's absolutely lovely. But that's the potential there, and thinking about that potential, I think is quite sweet.
Oh, I think they're just, that scene right there kind of sets it up for me. This idea that we are embarking on a new journey. This is a different place. This is not some place that has been settled. This is not some place that has, 100 years of conflict and bad blood and just things that are going on. But this is someplace new. It's this American dream that Jamie's kind of, sort of buying into in some ways.
Yeah. And I mean, but Jamie, I love Jamie so much. And part of what I love about him is that he can say sort of the smallest things that become so profound, right? And look, I don't even know if I'm phrasing it properly, what I mean, but I'm thinking about when he asks, what about the people that were already here, right? And even like in that seemingly simple question, Jamie sort of opens up this really sort of intense and kind of crazy history that is in the process of unfolding as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite profound. It's quite profound.
I love it. Because he says, what about the people who are already here? And Claire does give him a very brief, abridged version of history with the Native American people. She tells him that some of them will be killed, some of them will be forced to live on reservations, that the land is taken from them. And Jamie makes another really profound statement where he says, the American dream can be a nightmare for some. So this idea that we're, exploring and opening up this new world and how it's full of promise, but the people who are already here, this is, what unfolds is going to be a nightmare for them.
Yeah.
And that's extremely accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, I think, I mean, I said this before, so I apologize for being redundant, but we've already seen inklings of it in season 3, certainly. But I mean, now in season 4, there's no way to really get around it. I mean, this season is really tackling some of the really insidious and ugly parts of American history, And it's really interesting to think about that sort of side by side with the title of tonight's episode, America the Beautiful, right? But though we haven't seen it explicitly yet, I mean, we're certainly moving in the direction of having to confront a lot of this very traumatic and very ugly history. I'm absolutely thinking about sort of the mistreatment and the genocide of Native Americans in this country. I'm also thinking about the mistreatment and genocide of Black Africans that were brought to this country as slaves as well, right? So I don't know what Jamie and Claire are going to do, but I'm nervous. I will be honest, I'm nervous, but I am also intrigued to see Jamie and Claire confront those very difficult situations. It's not going to be easy, and I I wish there was an interview. And if someone knows of an interview, please send me the link, because I'd love to see it. If someone sort of asked Sam and Kate, or asked Team Outlander what it was like to write in this very difficult time period, to write these very difficult scenes, what it was like for Sam and Kate to film these difficult scenes, confronting this very dark history. I would really, really love to hear some of their thoughts and their insights on it.
Oh, so would I, because as you go into this, we're in 1767 now, almost said Cat. Claire tells him, we're 8 years out from the Revolutionary War. We know that, slavery goes on for quite some time. After slavery, you have the whole system of Jim Crow and oppressions in that way. So you have so many years of horrific treatment of African Americans, or Africans in this time period brought over as slaves. And then you add into that the Native American experience, that as soon as we start colonizing this country, we keep pushing and pushing and pushing them west until, in the 1800s, we have mass slaughters of them. And not saying that didn't happen in the 1700s as well, but to approach that and give it the authenticity while maintaining the dignity has got to be some unreal juggling act, I imagine.
Yeah. I'd really, really, really love to hear from the writers, and just to hear about that process. I'd be so intrigued. I'd really want to. So hopefully such an interview is out there, and our friends are, as we speak, linking us to those interviews. I mean, like, it's interesting. Again, sort of thinking about one of the things that I love so much about this series, and one of the things that I really honor Diana Gabaldon for, is that, I mean, to the rest of her ability, she's really authentic to history, sort of the historiosity of the time. So it's fascinating to think of Jamie and Claire repeatedly in these very real historical situations, and they sort of get caught up. And I mean, they're in the American colonies in the late 1760s, on the cusp of the American Revolution, right? So like, here we are again in this situation where there's about to be some very serious upheaval, and we have the potential of being on the wrong side of history again.
Yeah.
I mean, I just couldn't. If I were Claire, I would pack it up.
They always find themselves, and it's a circle, right? It's a circle. They always find themselves in some type of conflict or some type of war. And being Jamie and Claire, they're like, what can we do? What can we do to make the right side win? And at some point, I'm like, guys, let's just take a vacation. Let's just maybe go see if you can go see Bree. Let's go a different direction. But that's just not who they are. Me, I'm just like, oh, I'm so tired. Aren't y'all tired? Let's do something else.
I know. But it's interesting that you mentioned Bree, right? Because the thing is that it isn't until the end of the episode that Jamie and Claire have decided for themselves that they're actually going to stay in the Americas, right? I mean, the plan from the beginning is that we got to get Wee Ian back to his parents. So we're going to visit Auntie Jocasta at River Run, and then we're going to come back. We're going to sell a gem so we can have enough money to buy our passage, and then we're headed back to Scotland, right? But it's in fact this connection to Bree that Jamie wants, that Jamie is so eager for. And I want that for him. I want that so badly for him, right? For him to feel a connection to his daughter, right? And his belief that he can do something in this moment that will make life better or make life good for Bree in the future is such a lovely sentiment. And I really enjoy how that's the motivating factor, or one of the motivating factors behind Jamie and Claire deciding that they're going to stay in North Carolina. They're going to take the governor's offer, even though it comes with strings upon strings upon strings, and those strings are going to tie them up in a little bow, and it might not end well for them. But this potential to have an impact on Bree's life, I thought that was beautiful.
Oh, I loved what he said when he asked about this this being Bree's country. You know, if there's, he says something with my presence here now can be felt by her later, and that would be something. I mean, that's so Jamie, you know, that like, and I think that's one of the things we love about Jamie is just this endearing family loyalty that he has for all of his family, be it the ones that are blood to him or the ones that he has kind of brought in along the way and taken in his call family. Jamie's loyalty to the people he loves is unending.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever he can to make sure that their lives are better or they are happy. And that's one of the things we all love about Jamie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, thinking about that family, right? Claire is 100% that for him, right? That family. You think about Fergus and Marsley, you know, they are that family. And guess what? They're staying in North Carolina too. And even better, the family's getting a little bit bigger because there's a baby coming. You know what I mean? Leslie's staying, right? So it's just, well, Leslie.
Yeah.
But you know, for a moment, right, there was just a lot of optimism and a lot of potential for their family in this new land.
And that's I love that scene where they're all around, you know, the table and Jamie and Claire say, listen, you know, we're going to stay here, but we have enough money that we can get you, Fergus and Marsley, we can get you back to Scotland. And we even have enough money for you to give Leary, you know, for that, you know, the alimony. We have enough money for you to give her. And at that point I was like, that is so Jamie. Oh my gosh. But then, you know, they're like, no, we're going to stay here. And he's just so proud dad in that moment. Like, it's like he realized at the same time I realized that he was going to be like a grandpa. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, yay, this is so beautiful. And then, you know, Ian's like, I'm not going anywhere. No. And Leslie's, you know, my place is by your side.
Yeah. Because you never know what's gonna pop off. You never know what's about to go down. This is a wild country. So McDuke, I belong by your side.
Yes. That was such a lovely scene.
It was a really lovely scene.
And that was where the episode ended. And so next week.
And we were happy. And we were cruising down the river, headed to River Run, and we were happy. And scene.
And end.
Of course, we are not. That's not the case. Although, again, there were still some really lovely moments even on the barge, right? Like Jamie and Claire Jamie giving Claire that 24th year anniversary present. And because he knows his wife, he gets her, this beautiful case for her to keep all her medicinal things.
I know, that was so sweet. I was like, where did you get that? How did you hide it? And he was so sweet. And gosh, that scene was really pretty. And then the whole time, you know, you've got Ian and Leslie like helping, you know, push the barge along. And there's Rollo.
Rollo.
Rollo. I'm just, it was just such a lovely. Just like, this is great. This is good. I'm happy.
I love Rolo. I love Rolo so much. Like Rolo is such a ride or die character in this series. I love Rolo.
Yeah, like at this, don't tell me if anything bad happens to Rolo, because at this point I'm like, he's the only character that I'm gonna invest my
Rolo is so aces. Rolo is aces. I love Rolo. Everyone is happy. We're headed to see Auntie Jocasta. We even hear a little bit about Auntie Jocasta, that Auntie Jocasta maybe was a little bit of a Rolling Stone herself, moving from Cameron to Cameron to Cameron. But well, perhaps we'll save that conversation for next week when we meet the woman.
I guess so. I mean, this woman, she doesn't move far from the path. She's just like, well, you're available, okay.
The Auntie Jocasta is an interesting character. So I've been waiting for a long time to meet Auntie Jocasta. So this is just as like I have spent years dreading meeting Stephen Bonnet. I have spent years anticipating meeting Auntie Jocasta. So I'm excited. Okay, so I just need to say one thing. You know how I said Rolo is ride or die? Note that Rolo, like when everyone was laying out sleeping, Rolo was the first to recognize that something was amiss, and Rolo took out a whole guy into the river. So Rolo did his part. Rolo did his part for the team. So I'm proud of Rolo. I just need to say that to begin.
Rolo is a good boy.
I just need to say that to begin the conversation, because Stephen Bonnet, that raggedy bitch, showed
up on that boat.
And those are Katie's words. Those I should quote.
That was a shouty text.
Those are Katie's words. He showed up again. Like, this man showed up. And it's like, God, like, just the total antithesis of who Jamie is: honorable, family-oriented, dedicated, straightforward. And you have Stephen Bonnet, who is just none of these things.
Well, and what we like all through the episode, and I mean, we've been building to this conversation, because let's face it, the last 4 minutes of this episode are extremely intense. They're gut-wrenching. They're horrible.
Devastated. I was devastated.
They're devastating, but you can't say that you didn't know it was going to come. Well, obviously, I don't know if it's in the books, because I haven't read the books. Mommy's read the books. So it's in the books. Yeah, fantastic. But the fact that we've been given these little hints all through this episode that Stephen Bonnet is not, this, I mean, he was a creeper the first time we met him, and he uses everything he's learned along the way. He's not a stupid guy. He's manipulative. He is, that's just how he is. But he knows that if he sucker punches Jamie is going to chase him outside of that boat. And as soon as he does, they're all waiting to hold Jamie.
Yep.
Like, he knew the buttons to push to get everyone separated how he wanted them to with a single punch. That's like how manipulative and dangerous this man is.
He's a sociopath.
Yeah.
He is a sociopath. As I've said, I've spent years hating Stephen Bonnet. And and again, what seems so small separately, like pieces apart throughout the episode, I mean, it culminates in these final moments where we see him just wreak total havoc and chaos and devastation on what was a really, really optimistic optimistic episode. Is that fair? I mean, I guess I would characterize it like that. Again, I mean, there were some sad moments, but generally speaking, we were feeling optimistic about what the future held. And that has just been completely ripped apart by Stephen Bonnet. He's taken their gems. So now any plans that they had for revenue to contribute to this new settlement that they're starting is gone. And he kills Leslie, like he's like in the most gruesome, completely unnecessary way. And then because he is a raggedy bitch, he takes Claire's rings.
And this is what oh my gosh made me so angry is those rings, especially the one that Jamie gave to Claire, that's not worth money. Like, that's not something that he can sell. He took that because it's almost like a trophy or just something that he can maliciously take because he knows how much it means to her. Because when she was fixing him up, he points out her rings and she's like, well, I've been married twice. And Claire always plays everything close to the chest, especially with strangers. But he knew that those rings were important to her. And it's not the fact that they could fetch him any type of money. He's malicious. He's a horrible, horrible person. And when Claire tries to swallow them, he like digs his finger into her mouth. Oh my gosh. Like, I was like, just bite his finger off.
Yeah.
And
the thing is that, like, no dialogue. We're just listening to Ray Charles singing. And again, I mean, this is such a beautiful, iconic song because it embodies the hope of the America that we love in this song. And it's playing in the background while this horrible violence takes place in front of our eyes. Like, I need to hear a little bit more about that decision to pair those things together because it was, I keep coming back to the word devastating. I was devastated.
It was awful. I mean, you received all my texts about it, but I mean, I wasn't expecting it. Like and we've seen devastating things on Outlander. We've seen really traumatic events. We've seen absolutely devastating moments, emotional moments that don't stem from anyone attacking them, but just stem from loss and grief. But to have this upbeat, like soulful song just playing super loud too, like it seemed so loud, and everything else was just visceral reactions, like Claire sobbing, just in the floor sobbing, holding Frank's ring or her ring, from Frank. It was awful. It was, oh my goodness. And I did watch a little snippet of an interview where they said that they wanted to kind of have that song play over because they wanted it to contrast, like sort of like the title, with the violence of this new world.
What a contrast.
And it was an insane contrast.
Like, and I just think, and again, those of our friends who are watching who are book readers know what series of events have now been set in motion. Because we know that we have not seen the last of Steve Bonnet. And there are a set of events that have been set in motion that are going to come back around. And like, I remember reading and just being like, seriously, Jamie, we couldn't have let this man die. We couldn't have let this man die. When we think about sort of how he continues to wreak havoc in our lives.
And so, I mean, and I know because I can't not know things, and I beg for it to be told, and I look things up on Google. And so I know what happens. And do you think that they're starting this season out with the idea of a circle, with the idea that everything comes around, to kind of lay the groundwork and to show you this storyline is coming? We're starting it in episode 1. Everything is a circle. Everything comes back because they're trying to prepare people for the eventuality of what is to come.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes quite a bit of sense, right? I mean, we think about even when we think about how we're going to, just as we're watching Jamie and Claire in in this time period, eventually we're going to be watching Roger and Bree in their time period as well, right? And how I mean, how these two storylines are sort of circling one another and wondering how and when these storylines might intersect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's all foreshadowed in this initial conversation we're having about circles.
Yeah. Mm. So do you think that upcoming, do you think that there's going to be like just a bottle episode of Bree and Roger where it just showcases their life? Or do you think that it'll be kind of intertwined in an episode with Jamie and Claire too?
That's a good question. I don't know. I wonder what folks that are watching think. Okay. Is this going to sound shifty? I apologize if this sounds mean. I don't know that I'd want to watch an Outlander episode that didn't have Jamie or Claire in it. So I mean, this is just my personal preference, and I don't mean this in any way offense to the actors or to those who watch and who love Bree and Roger. My hope is that it would be like scenes of Bree and Roger would be interspersed, or maybe like half the episode is Bree and Roger and the other half is like Jamie and Claire. That would be my hope. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really like Roger. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I like Bree too, but fan of Roger over here. So I wouldn't mind, but it kind of makes me wonder. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how they're gonna work it out. It's gonna be interesting no matter what. We'll see.
We shall see. So that's all I have. How about you, Katie?
Yeah, that's it. I think that this season is probably going to be one of those that we can look at topically a lot. And even though it's set at the start of America, I think that they're probably going to be using a lot of themes that echo what some situations that happen here today, because all of this is America. Every single part of it, the good and the bad and the uncomfortable, it's all America. Mm-hmm. And we've changed, we've expanded, we've moved. Our wilderness has shrunk down. But I think that they're going to explore that. I think that they're going to try and make those connections, and it will be worth seeing how that turns out.
I agree. And next week we meet Auntie Jocasta. So that's going to be good. And I just have one thing that I just need to quickly say. I know that we need to wrap up, but give me Murtaugh. That's all I'll say.
What?
Give me Murtaugh.
Yes. Where is he? We know he came over here.
That's all I'm gonna say. I have no sort of prior knowledge about what is going on, but all I'm gonna say is, give me Murtaugh.
Yes, and his dancing shoes. I need Murtaugh.
That's all I have to say about that. So thank you so much, friends, for joining us to talk about tonight's Outlander. Again, we have missed you guys so much. So it's really, really wonderful to be back here with you talking about this show that we love so much, among fans and fandom that we love so much. This is the first of the next of 13 that we are going to do. So our plan is to be here just like last season every week to talk about this episode.
Yes. And we're so excited to be able to do it again. And we had such a great time last season, and we hope that you all kind of stick around with us and continue to have a great time, you know, throwing out theories and figuring out where this is going to all go in this giant circle.
Circle. Speaking of circles, I will end where we started, which is by telling you that our full recap is down below. So please do click the link and take a look. Are we saying goodbye?
I guess we're saying goodbye.
Goodbye. If you're in the US, make sure to vote on Tuesday.
Yes, get out, vote Tuesday.
Vote.
Vote.
That's beautiful. Yeah? Vote.
Vote.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good week.